What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Commercial Kitchen Chronicles podcast. I'm your host, Pat Finley. I'm lead tech for General Parts in the Indianapolis, Indiana metro market. We service restaurant equipment in restaurants, hotels, schools, hospitals, nursing homes, grocery stores. Anywhere you find a commercial kitchen, you more than likely find us. Today's episode, we are going to discuss fryers. I'm not going to go into too crazy of a detail on them, but I have a couple of different things I want to cover. First off, let's start with a millivolt system. It's your normal standing pilot fryers. These are generally a cheaper fryer. Don't have a whole lot to them. Have a mechanical thermostat, a thermopile, gas valve, high limit. Some have drain switches, some don't. But they're pretty much your run-of-the-mill fryer. Gas, it can be natural gas, propane, just depending on where they're at. Propane in food trucks, rural areas. Natural gas in most of your inner city and surrounding areas. Some things to be leery of or to watch out for with a millivolt fryer is gas pressure. Gas pressure is crucial for several reasons. First off, if you have too high of gas pressure, you can overpower your thermopile and actually create too much voltage and will actually burn it out prematurely. Also, I've seen in the past where your pilot will actually act as a blowtorch to create a hot spot on the fry tank, and I've actually had one melt a hole in one. It's kind of crazy. I was at a bar. The cook was kind of excited. He's like, yeah, I installed this myself. He said, somehow I got a hole in the fry pot. So I go there and look at it, and sure enough, he had like a 2-pound system hooked up, and that pilot was a blowtorch and literally burnt a hole in the steel fry tank. So non-warranty, he's out of fry tank. In that situation, it's cheaper to buy a whole new fryer. So how a millivolt system works is it takes a small pilot flame and directs it at the top tip of a thermopile. A thermopile is a millivolt producing device. Generally, I like to say it produces around 750 millivolts. It is then attached to your high limit on one side, and the other side goes to your gas valve. It comes out of the high limit, goes back to your gas valve, and that is your pilot safety circuit. So you get there, you turn that gas valve to pilot, press it and hold it, and you light your pilot assembly. Once your pilot assembly is lit, you will hold it for anywhere from 15 to 30 seconds generally, and your pilot should stay engaged. If your pilot doesn't stay engaged, try it a little longer next time. If it doesn't stay engaged, you may have an issue and you need to start investigating what's going on. Once that pilot is pulled in, you can test millivolts on the system. Generally, it's going to be anywhere from 550 to 600 with a pilot on. The rest of that power is then used to pull in the main coil for your main heat or your main burner. Once you kick on that main burner via the thermostat, it pulls in that coil and it allows gas to travel through the valve into your burners. And generally, once that is achieved, you should be able to read anywhere from 450 to 500, 400 to 500, right around that range. Anything below 300 left, you're going to start running into problems, or you're going to be underpowering your valve, you're going to drop out coils, and you're going to have issues. Another thing to look out for on a millivolt system is under gas pressure. What will happen is you will not generate enough millivolts, and you will have problems with your pilot dropping out, and you won't light, you won't burn. So that's just a couple things to look out for in a millivolt fryer. Troubleshooting millivolts is pretty easy. When I get a call, I like to go there. First thing I do, check the pilot. Pilot's not lit. I pull the fryer out. I want to check the gas hose. Pretty common issue on these gas hoses, especially with quick connects, is they pull their unit out to clean and they don't realize they hit it, and it's partially pushed on. He said, always want to check that gas quick connect and gas shut off first. A lot of easy service calls are just prevented by the customer checking the quick connect. A lot of times when I'm on call and they say they got banker fryers down, I always tell them to check that first. I mean, it can save you from getting called out in the middle of the night. You never know. So once I'm sure I have gas flow, I go back up to the front unit, try to light the pilot again. If the pilot doesn't stay pulled in, doesn't stay lit, I then unhook the thermopile from the system. I take my alligator clips on my meter, attach it to the thermopile, not hooked up to the gas valve. I will push in the pilot button and light the pilot. I'm going to let it run for about a minute and a half. By doing this, I'm going to ensure I'm getting proper millivolt generation. If the millivolts aren't between 725 and 775, we have a problem with the thermopile. If we have 725 to 775, then we know we have a good working thermopile. Next thing I would check would be the high limit. I'm going to pull the wires off the high limit, and I'm going to check for continuity across the terminals or ohms. Either way works. If you have continuity or ohms, you know you're good. If it says OL or no ding, you got an issue with your high limit. Some are resettable, some are auto resetting. It just depends. If your high limit's good, I will hook the thermal pile back up. I'll test for shorts to ground. If you have a short to ground in the millivolt system, your pilot's not going to stay lit and you're going to have issues. You're going to be fighting that for a while. So let's say your pilot does stay lit. You check your voltage and you're getting 600 millivolts, or 550, 600 millivolts. Go ahead and turn your gas valve to on and try turning your thermostat on. If your thermostat closes and you do not get a flame, you have an issue. So you either need to verify your thermostat is in fact closing. Just because it clicks does not mean it closes. So you may have to use your meter once again. Check for continuity across the contacts. You want to pull the wires off, check for continuity across the contacts or ohms, either or. If you have continuity or some resistance, you're good. If you have open, you have a problem with it. Make sure that thermostat is good. If your thermostat is good and you're still not pulling in, you can ohm out the coil for the main valve. If it's open, you have issues. If you hook it back up, you still don't work, you're gonna need a gas valve at this point. So they're fairly simple to diagnose and troubleshoot. There's only several components. Like I said, some have a drain switch. If it has a drain switch, just make sure that drain switch is closed. When the drain's closed, when the drain's open, it's open. All it really does is keep that main burner from coming on. They drain the oil. You don't want your burner to come on with the oil out because you will tear up the fry pot, you risk fire and damage. So you don't want to do that. Everybody has their own little twist on each style of fryer. I work on several manufacturers under warranty, and I work on anything out of warranty. But they're all pretty much the same. They all have a gas valve, thermal pile, high limit thermostat. They're pretty simple. They're the workhorses of the industry. They're in food trucks, restaurants. Not everybody needs a big crazy bank of fryers, and they'll buy a couple little, small millivolt systems. They don't have that power. They can just hook them up to gas and go. Also, one thing to consider is most of your millivolt fryers are tube fryers, which means there's a tube that the burners actually shoot through. That tube then runs through the tank, out the back, and out the flue. There's some baffles in there. I have seen in the past where those baffles are not installed, and you actually shoot the flame straight through the tube and out the flue, out the back. So just something to be mindful of is make sure those baffles are in the tubes. Those kind of help slow the flames down, help disperse the heat in that tube so that tube heats evenly. Next type of fryer I'm going to talk about is 24 volt systems. These are fairly common in your bigger fryer systems. They use a 24 volt system to power the valve. Majority of them have matchless ignition or self-igniting. It can be once daily. The pilot lights, so when you first turn the fryer on, the pilot will light, it'll sense, it'll stay engaged, and then the main valve works off a thermostat or a controller, or it can, in some cases, like FryMaster uses it lights every time, so there's no standing pilot. So on their high efficiency fryers, you get a call for heat. The ignition module is energized, it sends power to the gas valve. It also sends spark into the burner chamber. It lights off, and then it proves through microamps. And there's a burner blower on the input side, and it blows the air, mixes with the gas, and blows out the flue. Some other manufacturers use a post burner blower or inducer. I think Henny Penny does it on their Evolution fryers, and I think Ultra Fryer does on some of theirs. So that actually uses a burner on the post side and actually pulls the flue gas through it and out. Like I said, everyone does things their own certain way. But 24 volt systems are fairly common. They're pretty much everything anymore besides the freestanding pilots. Controls can vary on a 24 volt system. You can have mechanical thermostats. You can have a digital controller, has a little LCD screen. It'll have a series of push buttons. The push buttons can be programmed or it can be factory set. Just depends on which model and which variation you have. Anymore, most manufacturers are getting touchscreens. Touchscreens are the way to go. You can troubleshoot from the screen. You can see everything going on the screen. Your menus are pictures, so you put a picture of the menu item you want to cook, you press that, and then the menu is stored. There's all kinds of accessories anymore. Basket lifts, oil quality sensors, built-in filtration. I mean, the list is endless. Possibilities are endless. You can do anything with a fryer anymore. I have some fryers that automatically filter, so after somebody cooks, it drops the oil, filters it, pumps it back up, and knows when it's full, kicks the heat back on, and you're rock and rolling within 3 minutes. Some others are set throughout the day, certain times wants to be filtered. So say in the morning after you do all your breakfast and your prep work, about 10 o'clock, it wants you to filter. So it does a long filter in the morning, which encourages you to scrub the walls and make sure it is properly cleaned. And then it will test the oil, test the quality of the oil, and then it'll let it go back to work, let you cook. Those often, if you skip enough cleaning cycles, they'll lock you out and won't let you cook anymore until it's properly filtered. So that's a good thing. Most 24-volt systems are fed from a 120-volt wall plug into a transformer and converts it from 120 volts AC to 24 volts AC. Some systems that have touchscreens or computers will utilize a 12-volt DC circuit as well. That just depends. Like I said, every manufacturer has their own way to do it. So your valve's 24 volts. Most of the time, your ignition source is 24 volts. So, it still has a high limit. It still has thermostats. Some are just use probes and a controller. Some use mechanical thermostat. There's always so many different ways you can do this. The 24 volt systems are nice, especially when you have a controller, because you can do a lot more things. You have auto top off, which means that you're always maintaining a proper oil level. You don't have to manually add oil to a certain level. It has a series of probes, and once those probes notice the difference between each other, they will actually add oil into the fry pot and bring it up to a certain level to maintain proper oil level and proper cooking. It's really nice. It helps extend the life of the oil. You're not constantly dumping oil in there, so any oil that's transferred out of the food or spilled is replenished. So it really helps with longevity of the oil. Automatic intermittent filtration is a system where it will filter after so many cooks. Just depends on what you're cooking, depends on how often it filters. So just another option. Like I said, basketless are a cool feature. Especially if you're really busy, you're not paying someone to stand at a fryer. You can hit a button, it actually lowers the product into the oil, and once the timer goes off, it raises the product. It'll hold that product in that basket for 30 seconds, and then the timer will go off. So that 30 seconds just allow the grease to drip out. And once the timer's off, you can take the food and dump it and do whatever you gotta do. So that's a pretty cool feature. It makes it nice when you're really busy and you don't have someone just to stand over a fryer. What else? Self-filtering, we talked about that. It pretty much just filters itself. OQS, it's relatively new to this area. Oil quality sensor, it measures particulates in the oil, so it tells you how much carbon you have in there and how much buildup, and that determines on when you should get rid of the oil. It's no longer just a preconceived look. A lot of times oil will get dark and people think it's bad, and it's really not. Just it's kind of burnt. So you really need to be basing your oil life off of particulates in the oil versus just a color. So a few people asked me about a few questions here on Instagram. I asked for feedback and stuff. Someone asked me about the Gas Evolution fryers. I've only worked on a couple of them, so I really can't say per se. I didn't have any problems with them. Most of my issues was filtering issues. Most of the time they're not changing the filter paper. So on built-in filtration, they really need to be mindful of that filter paper. If they don't change it, it's going to be slow to pump back up or not pump at all. If they don't have filter paper in there, those crumbs of particulates get sucked into the filter system and it will get trapped in valves, trapped in elbows, and pack in there. And then once you get those things packed full, you got to tear apart and fix it. Tear them apart, poke them out, clean them out, whatever is not fun to do because by the time we get there, it's 2 in the afternoon. That fryer's 350 degrees. And you're trying to play with hot oil and trying to clean out a clog. So it's not always fun. So make sure they clean the filter paper. Let's see, I got a list here of some questions and stuff. So automatic intermittent filtration, AIF. All right, I'm gonna get to a few questions. I asked for questions or topics to talk about on Instagram for fryers. So let's start off here. Your favorite fryer to work on? Currently, it's probably FryMaster. I'm pretty particular to them. I train for them, so And we do a lot of warranty work for them. Pretty big on the Taco Bell program, so touchscreens. Just work on them all the time, so it's whatever you work on is what you're comfortable with. I mean, just like anything else, if you work on something enough times, you're gonna feel comfortable and like working on it. So that's what I'm gonna go with that. The Evolution fryer thing, like I said, I've only worked on a couple of them. I didn't have much problems with them, but I never got into that Selecto valve they got in there, and I hear bad things about it. But I don't do warranty work for them in our area, and so I really don't have much experience. Just occasionally I've changed a couple of valves. Nothing major. Let's go to the next one. Walk us through how you start a fryer repair. Like I said, if it's a millivolt system, start with the gas hose and work way back towards the front. Ensure gas is present. I try to pilot and go from there. I went through over the millivolt system. 24 volt system the same way. Make sure I turn it on and see if I got power to my ignition module. If I do, see if it's trying to spark. If it's trying to spark, I'm not lighting. Check, see if I got power to my gas valve, see if I got gas, and just work my way back. Schematics for your friend. Every fryer has one on their door. Now, whether it's legible or not anymore, it's a different story. But I just start at the beginning. I start the on-off switch, power, where does it go from there, so on and so forth down the line. The touchscreens are pretty easy because you can do a lot of stuff on the screen. You can get in tech mode, you can turn them on, you can turn on and off individual components one at a time and test them from there. But just like anything else, I start at the beginning and work my way in. So I start the gas, power, have those, come back in and go. So is the order of operation pretty much the same from manufacturer to manufacturer? Yeah, pretty much they're all the same. They all have their little differences or nuances, but pretty much they're real similar. If it's a millivolt system, they're pretty much all identical for that fact. Just depends on what options you have on 24 volt systems. 120 volts in. I mean, just depends on what you're troubleshooting. If you have a basket lift problem, see if you got power to your motor. Check your switches, that kind of thing. If you don't have ignition, check power your gas valve, check power your ignition module, see if you got spark, see if you got gas to your pilot. Sometimes you'll have a clogged orifice at your pilot. Some manufacturers do a clean, burner clean, so they will actually, it's a downshot tube fryer, so the orifices are up top. It shoots the gas down into a tube, and it goes out a flat screen and into the tube, and that's how it burns. Some manufacturers have a system where it actually lights those off and burns off those burner faces and cleans them off. So a lot of times those valves will stick and it'll actually trip a rollout switch. So you'll make sure high limits are good, rollout switch is good, that kind of stuff, drain switch is good. So, I mean, they all have a lot of similarities, but they all have differences too. Just depends on how in depth of a fryer it is and what all it does. RLS, Rapid Locking Systems, asks how do you deep fry a turkey. I've never done it. Most restaurants would probably be mad if you threw a turkey in their deep fryer, but hey, it's worth a shot. I've thought about some fryers I've taken out that are still good. I thought about hooking them up at the house and deep frying a turkey because you can set the thermostat, you don't have to babysit it. So when you deep fry a turkey at home, it's a process. You guys there and you're babysitting that thing. You get your thermometer stuck in there and you're just trying to keep that temperature or whatever temperature you're cooking at. On a commercial fryer with a fixed thermostat, you can set it to 350. It's going to stay plus or minus 20 degrees on a mechanical thermostat. If it's a digital control, it can be plus or minus 2 degrees. So, I mean, hey, if you can find one and you want it, you know, we can do it. Hey, you guys get a new warehouse, maybe I'll hook you up for one over there. What else we got? When do you consider a fryer beyond repair when it is time for a new unit? I like to figure life expectancy of a piece of equipment is 7 years. Once it gets to that 7-year mark and you're approaching 50% of repair, a lot of times I will suggest a new fryer, especially if it's a millivolt system fryer. Most of those fryers are under $1,000 for a single fryer. They're not very expensive. If you've got 7 years out of one of those things, I'd buy a new one and count your blessings. Now your bigger fryers, it just depends. If it's a bank of 3, bank of 4, and you got to change your fry pot, I mean, if everything else is in pretty decent shape and that's the only issue, I mean, I may consider it if you can get another 3 or 4 years out of the fryer. It's all about your customers though. I mean, you got to know your customers' needs. communication with your customer is key, and no matter what we do, I always communicate, hey, this is how much this repair is going to be. If it's a $750,000 fryer, if it's $500 and it's 6, 7, 8 years old, I'm going to say, hey, I can repair this, but I can't guarantee how much longer this thing's going to last. You've got a good life out of it. You may consider buying a new one. So it's just about knowing your customer and knowing their needs. Like I said, the cheaper fryers, you can get fairly cheap, but if it's got built-in filtration, all kinds of bells and whistles, they're going to want to get 8, 9, 10 years out of those fryers. So, you can replace a fry pot, for maybe $4,000 or $5,000. You're not going to replace a bank of 3 or 4 fryers for the built-in filtration, basketless, oil return, that kind of stuff for probably $25,000. So, just depends. Does the manufacturer offer good tech support for this type of equipment? Well, Brent, it's just like every other thing going on right now. When COVID came in, most of these places let a lot of their tech support guys go, and they never really recovered them, or they brought in people that really didn't have experience, so they're reading flow charts. It's all about who you know. Luckily, I'm friends with some pretty good people at some places, and I get jumped the line. I just call directly to some people I probably shouldn't bother, but hey, they answer the phone, they help me out, so I get lucky there. But generally, tech support's not bad. Long wait times, but that's just because they're short-staffed. But generally, as long as you call some information, they will help you out. I'm a firm believer, before you call tech support, if you're working on a gas fryer and you're having a lighting issue, I want to know my gas pressure. I want to know my voltage is going to my gas valve. I want to know my voltage is going to my ignition system. So, just like everything else, do a little bit of homework first before you call, and generally they can help you out. But if you just call and tell them it won't light and you don't have any idea why it won't light, you haven't tried anything, you're going to have a rough time. So it's all about what information you give them, and that'll help you get the information you need. That's all the questions I really have. I appreciate you guys helping me out with some questions, some topics. I got vacation coming up, but I'm going to try to take my stuff, record a couple episodes. I think next week I may break into combis, or I may break into normal ovens. I'm not sure yet. If you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can email me at commercialkitchenchronicles@gmail.com. Please subscribe to my YouTube, Spotify, Stitcher. I'm trying to get on some other platforms, but those two right now for the podcast. You can join my Facebook group. You can like my page on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. So anywhere you can find me, just look up Commercial Kitchen Chronicles and it should lead you to me. Thanks for tuning in, and have a great day, everybody.